Welcome. My name is Bruce, and with my co host tonight, Janet from another planet, we are going to be
Well,
discussing the 1994 movie Bad Girls. Originally going to be directed by Tamara Davis, but later picked up by Jonathan Kaplan after many changes were forced upon the film. This movie stars Madeline Stowe, Mary Stuart Masterson, Andy McDowell, and Drew Barrymore,
mhm.
along with James Russo, James LaGrosse, Robert Loggia, and Dermot Mulroney. There's
Yeah,
there's a lot of good people that are in this movie.
yeah,
Um,
I think so.
Janet, before I begin, why don't we throw some positivity here?
What do you want to talk about?
Go ahead, talk about your. Do you like this movie?
Oh, I do. I do like this movie. I thought it was really good. I mean, I even thought it was better this time than it was when I first watched it
Okay.
at the movie theater. I mean, because you got all these people right now complaining how women don't have any good parts and how women aren't the lead and blah blah blah. The only thing that they'd probably gripe about is that they were all white women. That would be something they'd probably gripe about. But the thing is, these are all four women were prostitutes, and due to their circumstances, they have to go on the run, and and it shows them their character arc going from just prostitutes to fighting for their survival. And I just thought that was really good. I mean, for a story that was told in what was it, 1994?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just think that was I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was a real good movie. It had beautiful scenery. The music wasn't too bad. Um, the clothing, the attire, the way the people handled themselves in the movie, to me was very authentic. A lot of the different things. Now there was like two or three scenes that seemed like it was on a sound stage to me, like
Hmm.
the scene where the women are holed up waiting to when they left town, and then they're wanting to go get Addie McDowell's character. Was it Addie the one that got arrested for the bank robbery because she couldn't get up on her horse because she's the most ladylike of all the prostitutes.
Yep.
So so that one scene over there by the little fence and had the fire and stuff, it just seemed like a soundstage type thing. That was the only scene that, with the stuff that was in the background, things like that, that to me didn't seem as authentic as the rest of the movie. Except for when she was sitting there skinning that snake and stuff. And that the one line that I loved, it was they said she goes when she put the snake on the spigot and she said, might as well eat this too. uh, and she puts it on there, and then Mary, the other one of the characters, says you can't tell one meat from the other, and then Addie McDowell says just like men. So I thought that was a really funny little scene. It was four best friends because they became close friends because they were all prostitutes in the same little saloon and brothel. So I liked it. I liked the camaraderie between the four. I mean, I have four sisters, so
You
maybe
could
that's
see
one
this.
reason why I absorbed the movie differently than you. Because I'm a woman. I'm not a prostitute, but if I was back then, uh, it would have been shit. Because I know it was a really tough life for women. I mean, like at the very beginning opening scene where the colonel is fighting with her to have sex with her. It was Mary Stuart Masterson's character, and she's recently a widow because her husband had died, so she was forced to become a prostitute. That was the only way she could survive. And so I was looking at the human qualities of the characters. I thought they were really good, and I thought they each had good character arcs for their parts in the story. So, what do you hate about that opening area scene and the characters overall?
The opening scene at the prostitute before our good Colonel Claiborne, I believe that's his name. Yeah, Colonel Claiborne gets one in the chest. Before he gets it, that was kind of slow. The movie doesn't really pick up at that point, but the women rarely look like they are not ready for a makeup ad. Like they could easily be in modern times influencers or Instagram models because there's not a hair really out of place in 90% of the shots of the film, even though they're prostitutes. And I've seen my share of prostitutes. I'm an ex-sailor. Um,
Yeah, but
they
yours were from the 1800s.
I know what a prostitute looks like. I'm very familiar with prostitutes. I've never seen a prostitute look that good.
Well, can I interject for a moment? I was in Las Vegas for my niece's wedding, and she was getting married at the Luxor, which is the big pyramid.
Mhm,
And I love the elevators because they're not normal like this,
mhm.
they go like
You go to
this.
angle.
So I rode up and down in them a few times because I'm just weird. But I remember I got all dolled up for the wedding and I was going back to my elevator to go up to my room, and you have to have a special key to go to certain, depending on where you're going. And I was getting ready to go, and there was this two beautiful women standing next to the elevator. I mean, really good looking. I mean, these were like
Super hot.
10s, sparkly and way dressier than I was, I thought. And they were all of a sudden just saying how pretty I was and how nice I was and blah 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 blah. And I was with a few other people, and they were saying, "You want to meet up with us later or whatever?" And I said, "Sure, that'd be fun." Or what, I was just all into it. And then we get in the elevator and we're going up, and they go, "Those were prostitutes, right?" And I went, "Huh?"
Not
Yeah,
aware of
they
that.
were like very expensive call girls, and
Yeah,
they just wait around by the elevator for some gentleman that has a lot of money or a big spender to take care of
for
them.
for enlisted personnel, we don't get those maybe 3, but definitely 4 or 5 stars.
So you've
We
never been to a casino in Vegas?
no,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no.
I loved it. I had an
There's no
uncle that was
port in
Vietnamese
Vegas.
from there.
There's no port there. There's no way for a ship to pull up and be like, "All
No, I'm
right,
not talking about in the ship. I'm
good."
talking about when you weren't on the ship. Did you ever not take a trip to Vegas or to
No,
any of those areas?
the closest I've ever been is Needles.
Oh, well.
And I didn't mind Needles. Needles was pretty, but I was there to pick up stuff and throw it in a reefer truck and then get right back on the highway and tear after some miles because I had to get it to its location. So my times in Needles are mainly just picking up Procter and Gamble goods and going to Walmart distribution houses numerously scattered all over the states because I believe they used to have a huge food shipper out of there because that was east of Bakersville or Bakersfield, and that's like a breadbasket.
Mhm.
A lot of people in California will always tell you, "Oh, we feed the whole planet here in Bakersfield." I'm from Illinois. We have nothing but corn around us, and some
Well,
asshole, some
so
engineer
you
figured
you
out.
never you've never really traveled anywhere outside of your state and everything when you weren't in
No,
the
I
military?
was a long haul trucker, but
Oh, so see,
did
you
I
have been oh, you were a trucker like my uncle, one of my uncles, so you had lot lizards all the time.
Yeah,
Okay,
like
but totally
2
different.
star, 1 star out of 5 or 10.
Totally different, which was sad, but,
This is
everybody's
why,
gotta eat.
yeah, when I went overseas, the quality went up quite a bit. The uniform helped out a lot, but I mean, majority of time, like oh, that's nice. I'm glad. Where are you going? Where do you recommend? And then you go not there. And typically, wherever they tell you to go, your ship's already told you don't go here. Probably because your higher brass is going there to have their fun. You don't want
Or
to have a bunch of enlisted
they're
people ruin
worried
it.
that you're gonna get, um, you know, looped or whatever that word is,
And
from a
I,
prostitute, so
yeah,
drug you, tie you to the bed and take all your stuff.
yeah.
Go through
Thank
your
you.
pants, take your money. I mean, I was at a club in Dallas, and a lot of people go to Dallas. I don't remember the name of the club. I think it was called Monopolies or something like that. And I was with my sisters, and I had was wearing this really cute short skirt, but I was sitting at a chair in the back on the wall with my
Mhm.
other sister, and the other two were dancing or whatever. And some guy walked by, and he was wearing looked like a leather shoes, those real expensive ones. And he had no socks on, which I thought that's the first thing I noticed. And I was like, oh, one of those types, that's all I could think of. And then he turned and looked at me and he put his hand on my knee. And then he tried to I thought he was trying to put his hand up my skirt, and I put my hand over it, and he had a wad of cash. So he thought I was a hooker. I never wore that outfit again. And I just told him, I said, I'm not a prostitute.
You should wear that outfit for this sort of thing.
Why?
You're
It's a
not going to be
Western. That's why I'm wearing a
you're
Western outfit.
you're not going to ever be in danger of being on my stream with somebody saying that. And if anybody ever says that in my chat, one of my
Well,
one of my mods or
I
myself
will
will
dress
eject.
appropriately. If we do a movie that's about that type, like Pretty Woman or something,
Yeah.
maybe I will wear something like that. But I'm wearing a Western shirt that has
Yes.
snap buttons and stuff, and a scarf, because the only thing is I couldn't find my cowboy hat. I looked around, so I don't know where I might be out front or on the lawnmower downstairs or something. But I couldn't find it. So, oh well. I just pulled it up in a little bun and
Part of me is trying to hold back laughter. You put the cowboy hat on the lawnmower. I'm like, okay, because I recognize that's Arkansas, that's Missouri, right there.
well, it's a Western movie, and the women do wear
Lots of
uh,
hats.
some hats and stuff, especially in the big shootout scene. They're wearing chaps, and
Notice that.
so. But what I'm saying is they were dirty. Their faces were dirty in
Yeah.
quite a few scenes, and their hair was mussed. You just don't. I just don't.
Mm,
I just thought. I think that you thought the women were pretty, so you ignored the
No,
different
there's
bedhead
some
and
there's some
whatever else.
really good action shots that do happen in minuscule parts of the film
Hmm.
where they do the makeup and they do the look right. They actually look like they were involved with a shootout. They look like they were just eating the ground and then trying to get to their feet and scamper to a position of superiority to unleash more firepower. There's a lot of points in the movie where they do that, but 5 minutes later, they're ready for CoverGirl's, front page.
Well, I didn't see it that way at all. I mean, like when Madeline Stowe went to go get her money, and
Yeah,
she wouldn't let Drew Barrymore's character go with her because she knew that what they would do to her.
yeah.
Right? She knew that they would really hurt her or rape her or whatever. She wouldn't have a
This,
chance.
this is peak Drew Barrymore, I might say.
So yeah, so when she got whipped with a belt or with a whip, when he did that whip and it went around her throat, that
Yes.
I remember that scene. I felt for her. My stomach dropped. But then when you saw her later, and she's got black eyes, and her hair's all sticking to her and stuff, and she's got those huge cuts all over her back. I just thought that was a really good scene. It was very believable to me that she had just taken a beating from that guy, because that guy's jealous that she left him. Even though she was a prostitute, I think he was a psychopath anyways, a narcissist psychopath, and he wanted her for himself, and she wanted out. So she had to do whatever she could by becoming a prostitute or whatever, and sending the money to the bank to earn that money and save it up, because she was wanting out. She just wanted out of that whole mess that she was in. But because of her connections with that gang, she could shoot, she could ride well. I mean, and she was smart. So she was basically the leader because of her lifestyle that she had when she was a young girl. Like when she's talking to the older guy, I can't remember his name, Russo's dad character. I can't remember his
Yes.
name, but he was a big actor. I've seen him in lots of things before. He was in this movie.
Yeah,
But
Kid Jarrett.
yeah, Kid Jarrett's dad's character. When she's
Yeah.
talking to him,
Robert Loggia.
yeah, and he says about her being with him since she was 14. She was scrubbing floors and doing all that stuff, and she thought it would be an escape from what she was in. you know, with the wide-eyed view of a young teenage girl with her hormones starting, all that stuff, and she got into the wrong crowd. And who knows what kind of horrible stuff she went through with these guys. But she was stuck after that. So to me, that whole character arc for her character, I thought was really, really good and very believable, especially when she gets out of the water when she's bathing. They're all bathing and they see the guy ride up on his horse, and she gets out with her gun and walks up to him naked. And he's just looking at her, but he just like, I'm not here to turn you in, or whatever, but they're looking for you, the Pinkertons are on your trail, blah blah blah.
And I
So
was expecting the Pinkertons to be written a lot better, but
well, to
this,
me, that was the one thing compared to Tombstone, that they made them out to be a bunch of buffoons, the two
yeah,
guys. They made
yeah,
them into like, that was one thing, that was a flaw in the movie that I thought was kind of stupid, because they didn't really have to do that, because it would have been more pressing, and dire, if they'd made the characters not dumb buffoons.
yeah, and it's that's the fault of the movie right there. Because there's a lot of times where the Pinkertons might not have gotten their job done 100% of the time, but the majority of the time when they were assigned a task, they were known for their efficiency and
Mhm.
hated by many Native Americans.
Yep.
Um,
And yeah, that was one of the things that I didn't really necessarily agree with for the movie, was because it was that was just kind of stupid. I mean, to me, I don't know if that was part of the movie that got changed around after the whole thing with the script and the director and all the problems they were having with all that had anything to do with it or not. But
I'm gonna attack some things on this film. Um, all four of these ladies that are the main stars of this movie
mhm,
are fantastic.
mhm,
They, in their own right, they've earned their leading lady status because they have turned in some very good performances.
mhm.
Not in this movie. In this movie, they did what they could, and there's some really decent actors out there that are just handed really bad scripts.
Mhm.
I'll even offer one, a Dungeon Siege tale with Jason Statham. His character's name is Farmer.
Yeah.
That's a horrible movie. Jason Statham took what script was given to him by Canadian tax evader Huey Boll, the
Mhm.
director, and he did with it what he could. This movie is a lot like a Huey Boll script. There's a reason for it. It was supposed to be directed by a lady named Tamra Davis, who
Mhm.
directed a movie called Gun Crazy with Drew Barrymore in 1992. And for a little while, she had some credibility in Hollywood. When
Yeah.
this movie was getting prepared and they started shooting and they had a script, people were seeing dailies and were being a little fed up with what they saw. So
It
they
was
yoinked,
boring,
yeah, they
had no
yoinked
action
out,
in it.
yeah, they yoinked it out.
Mhm.
They said, we're done making this movie. You have this much time to fix it. And so they installed Jonathan Kaplan, much like the deep state installed Joe Biden into the presidency, and they rewrote a script, much like they rewrote a script for America in 2020. And it's not really good. Neither script is good. So I'm going to attack the movie on its scripting. I'm going to attack the movie on what could have been a really good semi coming of age movie, more realistic with how women get along with each other, especially women in the sex trades, because I know a lot of them that are lesbian,
Mhm.
preferably, but because of the fact that no skills, they have to take dick for money.
Well, yeah, and a lot of them became very affectionate with the other women
Yeah.
anyways, is because of the abuse they get from the men. They grow to
Exactly.
hate them. So I can
And
understand that. And to me, there was details like that to me between Drew Barrymore and oh, shit, what was her name?
Mary Stewart.
Andy
Yeah.
McDowell's character. They were very huggy and kissing each other and like
Mhm.
picking
Eileen
at each
Spencer.
other like little teases.
Mhm.
But to me, I looked at it more of as it was a big sister and a little sister kind
Yeah,
of.
that's what it felt like more than anything else. Was
Yeah.
a
But
group of
other
sisters together.
people that watched it could have said, "Ooh, there's some, maybe some lesbo scissoring action going on or
It
whatever."
could have gone down that believable path.
Yeah. Now,
And
see,
in the
if they
90s,
remade the movie, they could do stuff like that.
I expected it to go that way when I first saw this movie, up until the halfway point when I quit watching it in 1994, and I had to rewatch it again in 2022. I'm not saying it was entirely horrible. I think the makeup department was fantastic. Location scouting was great. I'd like to know where Echo City is.
Mhm.
I want to know because I did a search on it. I prefer my movies being grounded in like realism or say completely fictional bullshit. Pay no attention to this. The
Mhm.
reason why I'm such a dick on this is that you have this movie primarily set in Agua Dulce, which
Mhm.
is about 2 hours southeast of where I'm sitting right now,
Yeah.
about 15 minutes outside of Robstown, Texas, which is where I used to work and live. I
Mhm.
know that area very well, super well.
Mhm.
And I could believe the structures would have been in that area, and I would have believed that a lot of those structures have been bulldozed over and made into the dying town it is today.
Yeah.
Um, I don't. Hey, D. Jotzi, how you doing, sir? I don't like the fact that they went on the soft uh, mentality as to how the women get along. They could have gone into like almost full blown lesbianism and go all the way. We are feminists and we're going to finger and scissor ourselves to our fucking happiest degree since we're out here in the middle of the West and no man knows how to flick a bean with his tongue worth of shit.
Yeah.
They could have done that and they
They
should have
could
done
have,
that.
but they couldn't either because Mary Stewart's character was a widow.
Yeah.
Okay, she was just starting out, and they had just bought a plot of land, and they were going to go there and build a sawmill to make a living and have a family. So, um, and Drew Barrymore was young, and she started becoming a prostitute because her dad was a trick horse rider,
Hmm.
cla- clarinet or Antoinette or whatever their last name was. It was French,
Yeah.
and her story was that she ended up having to become a prostitute to take care of herself because her dad died and she had no means of income. Which, if anyone knows her history, they know that a woman couldn't own property, a woman couldn't vote, a woman had no worth. She was worth less than a horse. Okay,
Yeah.
so men treated women like shit in real
And
life.
this
It
was.
wasn't like, unless you were born into a family with a lot of money, like the colonel's wife, okay,
Mhm.
she was able to purchase whatever she needed or whatever because of where she was, her level of her standard, where she was already, her stability because of who her husband was, okay, and she was playing it to the hill. But those four girls, okay, even though Addie McDowell's character told everybody that she grew up in New Orleans because she thought New Orleans was like for the posh people or
Yeah.
whatever, but that's not the way it was. But she really grew up
East
on a
Texas Ranch.
farm, a ranch. So, you got tidbits of their characters, and I loved it. I thought their stories were believable to me, and yeah, it was embellished a little bit. I mean, but the thing is, it was a Western, and they had to do certain things, just like in Tombstone. There was a lot of embellishments, but it made it good
They made it great.
because
They made Tombstone amazing.
well, yeah, but the thing is, the city and the town looked very authentic. The
Mhm.
couple things that I didn't really like was what, like at the very beginning when you see the girls come out and they got their very risque outfits on. Drew Barrymore and Addie McDowell were up on the little
balcony.
veranda, whatever you want to call it,
Okay.
watching all the Christians, with their Bible thumpers walking down the road with Addie's character, because they're going to hang her, or not Addie, Cody's character, Cody, and they're going to hang her because she was a harlot. Okay. Everything the preacher was saying at the very beginning is exactly what most people in those kind of little towns thought of prostitutes. Prostitutes were the lowest of the low. There were snakes. They were worthless pieces of shit, except to the guy that's willing to throw her 2 pence, to get a blowjob or whatever. He's going to get a hand job or whatever. I don't know. But the thing is, that's who these women were. These women had to do everything for themselves because they had nobody. Nobody cared about them. The banker didn't care. Even when he found out it was her money and she'd been wiring it there, he didn't want to give her $12,000, even though it was her money, because she's a piece of shit.
Yeah,
and they looked at her that way.
He thought she was really low.
And they don't care why they were there. I mean, if their own mother, was thrown in the street, she would be nothing too. I mean, to me, all of that was realistic to me, because that's what the real West was.
Yes.
People don't want to think about it, but all those wagon trains that went from New York area up there to California for the gold rush, guess who kept everybody fed? Guess who kept everything washed? Everything taken care of was the women. But the women didn't have any say, because all they had to do was lift their skirt when they were told and make the meals. That's it. That's what women were worth. So any woman that learned how to use a gun and ride a horse and be able, that's one thing I was going to say. Remember, I went on and on about in Tombstone how she rode that side saddle because she was a lady and she was rich. Okay.
Yeah.
Totally different things that you learn, equine, riding, all the different things. A prostitute, a young girl, doesn't learn that stuff when you're poor. Okay. You learn how to sew, you learn how to cook, you learn how to, how to feed the horses and all that kind of stuff, because you gotta be able to help your husband whenever you get one, which you probably traded for like 4 or 5 horses and a donkey or a pig or whatever else. And then you're able to say, well, I want to marry that one girl, whatever, she's 13 or 14 years old, and you're handed over because you're a piece of property. And that is an American history, and it's true. But it was embellished because it was more romanticized that these 4 women that went through all this arduous shit in their lives and struggling to survive by becoming prostitutes, having to sell their bodies just to live. And when that guy was trying to, rape her or whatever, just because she was a prostitute, I guess she deserved it, that's how people look at prostitutes. They still do it today. I've watched 4 or 5 documentaries about prostitutes that were being murdered by the Green River Killer and other things. But because they were prostitutes, they were like, it's better for our city to get rid of these sluts. And that's how people treat people. But these are people's mothers, sisters, daughters, wives, or whatever. And I look at them that way. So to me, watching this movie, that's how I connected with them right off the bat, is because I knew the stories that we're telling that from real history, it wasn't a good one. And I'm thankful as hell that I did not live back then.
The script I found really weak. And
it was weak in lots of areas.
I hate beating on that, but I mean, that's the kidney shot for this movie, and it leaves itself wide open on it. You're going to have me, an amateur pugilist, go for that easy low hanging fruit all the time, because I didn't appreciate the fact that they did not perform a whole lot of actual world building outside of having good set design. I will admit, Agua Dulce looked good. I did like the director of photography's choice for a lot of the cinematic long shots he did.
The sunsets, some of the beautiful sunsets were gorgeous.
You're going to have that. It's a Western. If you don't have a beautiful sunset in a Western, you need to go beat your head against a fence post until you understand what a fucking sunset is. And get your camera on it for a good 15 minutes, and that way you can suck out 30 seconds for a shot, and you can then run it. But the problem that I have is that script. Like, the script was so weak. We have Zoanne Leroy, who played Widow Claiborne in this movie. and she was given only 4 lines of dialogue, and she has a very villainesque mentality to her. The only thing she's missing is a mustache and a monocle. They could have they could have fucking done something with her, and at least give the Pinkertons some goddamn actual work, give them
Mhm.
some actual screen time and make those characters believable, not the incapable fucks that they're portrayed as. I'm very upset about that. I'm irritated about the fact that whenever the girls are there splashing in the water, here we have an opportunity in 1994 to have a movie to go all the way and show the clam shots. They don't do that. This is apparently not the edgy 90s that I remember, because I remember the
Yeah.
90s being edgy as fuck. But this movie is so not edgy. They have Madeline Stowe walk up out of the damn river to go confront somebody. And the moment she's out of the river, we see 3 seconds of side boob. Not really good pictures of side boob, I might add, because I apologize
And
a lot.
scars on her back. That
Now,
whole
obviously,
scene.
the focus is on her goddamn scars on her back,
That's
and then
right.
she gets up there, and they film from the neck up like the
Well,
cowards
maybe
they
it's
are.
because she said that she wouldn't be nude.
Get
And
another actress, god damn it!
but you
Fuck.
got to see Drew Barrymore's boobs.
Yes, they are peak Drew Barrymore, but that I find Drew Barrymore to be like most other blondes, easily digestible like bad Chinese food.
But see,
I'm
to
not a fan.
me, the whole thing about the robbery when the bank was robbed and she put the money down in her bosom, okay, and what's his name? That shit, the bandit guy. What was his name?
Kid Jarrett.
Kid Jarrett. When Kid Jarrett went by and he saw the money in her shirt and he stuck his hand down and get it because he knew this, he'd probably never see her again because he
Mhm.
knew that she had that money and she was going somewhere. So that was his opportunity. But then in the jail, when Addie's character is in the jail, and the young man comes in there and he's told he has to become a deputy, because the other guy's trying to get a posse together. So he's in there. To me, I just thought he was adorable. I mean, I just thought it was a very romantic. I guess this is a made for women movie, apparently, because
I,
most
I
guys
don't
that I
know,
did
but
talk to, the men I talked to did not like this movie. They thought it was a feminist bullshit back
it
in the
wasn't even
90s.
a feminist movie. It's the most soft, fucking no edge, blunted ass semi-feminist movie I've ever seen in my life.
No, I didn't think so. I've
And
seen
and,
worse.
and Whitechapel's absolutely right. Okay, Madeline Stowe, you don't want to be doing a nude scene? Great. Wheel in the 18-year-old Madeline Stowe lookalike, get her naked, and do that from the neck down. And then you can film Madeline Stowe talking with another neck down shot to keep the
Mhm.
male person interested watching the
Well,
movie.
it didn't bother me at all not to see her boobs, but to
I
me, the
know it
whole
didn't bother
scene
you at all.
was to just show that she's been through a lot and she had been whipped or something bad had happened to her, and that's what
Everybody's
the
got
scene was for.
drama. Every
So,
single human on the planet has things they have lingering fucking scars from, physical, mental, spiritual, otherwise. And I'm so sorry that Madeline Stowe had a wonderful piece of shit and Kid Jarrett that used to whip her all the time. Like, that's a real healthy relationship. I bet she goes right back to him. And I was kind of surprised that the movie didn't send her right back into his arms, because that would be the kid gloves bullshit script that I was
but
fully
see,
expecting
at
from
the
this. That was
very
the one thing
end,
I liked.
when at the very end, after everything had happened, and she gets to shoot him. See, her whole character goes full circle. She gets to get even with the person that she was swept off her feet and ran away with as a young girl, teenager, thinking that, she's going to have some kind of wild romance and stuff, and she got treated like dirt and beat and whipped and starved and who knows what else. But he cared enough about her in his own morbid way to save her clothes, her dresses, and things like that. Because when Drew Barrymore gets taken and they make her strip in front of all the disgusting guys, he goes, the other guy is sent to go get her a dress, and he comes back with a couple of dresses, and he says the red one. So
Mhm.
he was sentimental enough about Cody's character, to keep a bunch of her dresses in a trunk. Okay. So he's just pissed at her because she didn't love him. She left him because
Yeah.
she didn't like the way he treated her, and that's not what she wanted.
I don't blame her for that. His character was a scamp, and not even worthy of being called a true rascal. He's just a piece of shit. And
Yeah, but you
I
got to
didn't.
remember all the characters from Tombstone, the
Mhm.
movie. Okay, the cowboys were all like Kid Jarrett.
Yeah.
That was them. To me, that was realistic. That he was an ass. He was self-centered, and he just took what he wanted because people were afraid of him, and he was a bully. So that's why I believe that he was that kind of a person, and I believe the other scummy guys that hung out with him and laughed and made plans about, like when they robbed that train and they had those army guys with their pants around their ankles making them dance around. To me, that was probably something that some scumbag like that would do to somebody
Yeah,
because
that
they're
actually felt kind of authentic when they had the guys dancing around at gunpoint. I could
yeah,
see
and
that.
they were carrying those the gun pieces to put together in the boxes across that thing to get out. I mean, a lot of that stuff to me, I thought was just as believable in a lot of the scenes in Tombstone. So to me, with what even though the script was weak and they made lots of changes to it, I could tell that they added the part with William in it. Okay.
Hmm.
And that they added the part with the young guy that was trying to get revenge against Kid Jarrett for what he did to his mom, because his mom was whipped just like he saw when he saw Cody, when he found her
Yeah.
and took her to the Chinese people to help her. He told her, he said, they did this to my mom and my sister. They killed them, but my mom died days later from the same injuries that she had. So in a way, there were two people that were hurt terribly by this gang of people, and they bonded because of it. And they didn't have to have sex. It wasn't raunchy. It wasn't a torrid love affair where here, bend over and I'll you suck my dick and I'll do this and then I'll help you catch this guy. I mean, it wasn't nothing like that. It was a whole thing on even tone, like side by side as partners to try to get rid of this guy. Not that she was better than him or he was better than her. They were side by side working together, and they had a common need to get rid of this guy because they both hated this person. She hated him since she was 14 or 15 years old, and he's hated him since he saw his mom and his sister murdered. Okay, by
Yeah.
these people, and they didn't get justice. I mean, where was the lawman? Where were the people going to get him? So they just wanted revenge, and he died for it. Okay, so
Yeah.
and he died because he killed the guy that they were going to use to trade for Lily's character, and he knew that was on him when she told him to get the fuck out because he couldn't be man enough to not let his temper override it when she was looking at this guy and dealing with this stuff to try to get things done so they could get that gun, you know, and to get Lily back. But he couldn't do it. His revenge was so strong, he slipped up. But then he thought about it. And he realized I messed up, and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do it. But see, that was his mistake, was thinking he could go in there by himself and be able to do it. Just like Cody's character. She thought, oh, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to get my money. I might have to sleep with him, but who cares? I'm going to get my money and I'm going to leave and I'll never have to see him again. But he knew that she was going to come, get the money and leave and never see him again. So he tortured her. But she didn't let Lily go. So to me, that whole story stuff right in that was a good story. It was a believable story to me. And the character arcs for each of the characters, like when Mary Stuart Masterson says, and she goes and she tries to use the wagon to break the wall so that Addie can get out. Andy's character could get out. So, it was kind of something a woman would do back then. a woman that's desperate, that's a new prostitute that doesn't really live this lifestyle. She went from being a homemaker, making bread and, you know, that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden she's having to sleep with men to make money. I mean, to eat. I mean, so to me, her character was very mousy and timid. So she was the timid one, and the other ones kind of tried to took her under their wing and tried to help her out. So she wanted to help. She wanted to help her get her out. And then you had Lily go in there all dolled up in her cute little prostitute outfit saying, they hurt me right here. Oh, and they also hurt me right here. And he goes, maybe you need to pull that up a little bit more. Okay. The sheriff, So, to me, I guarantee men acted like that. I mean, look, you just got upset because you couldn't see Madeline Stowe's tits. I mean,
It wasn't even Madeline Stowe's tits.
Well,
It's
you
the
know what I
character
mean? I'm
tits,
just
and
saying
you have this
men are
golden
easy when it
opportunity.
comes to that kind of stuff back then, and
That-
probably some today, where a woman flashes her tits or shows a lot of thigh, and a man thinks that maybe I have a chance, and they'll listen to
Just
a lot
enjoy
of
it.
things.
No, kids. If you see a woman like showing her boobs or like exposing a lot of thigh or wearing the little booty middle school shorts, don't go up there, propose, do anything stupid. Just enjoy the sight for what it is and let it walk on. It's too
No,
much
I'm
drama for
talking
your brain
about
to
if you
handle.
go to a club, okay, you're at a club and you're drinking with your pals and stuff, and there's a group of girls, 4 or 5 of them, and they're all dressed to the nines. That's why they're there. You're there to try to see what chemical balances you could find in there, maybe have a relationship or a one night stand or whatever. But that's what you're in there for. I don't know any guys that just go to a club where there's dancing and stuff like that just to have a few beers when they can go down to the local club, play darts, pool, and have a few drinks and not have to worry about all the bimbos that are decked out. But they like the way they smell and they like the way they feel. And that's what they do there for. They're there for the meat market.
I'm an odd duck. I learned meat markets are bad at an early age as a sailor. And I learned after that, just enjoy what you get to see and go home. Don't try to engage. Let somebody else have that pile of crap that's hidden behind the makeup. Let the good ones come to you if you're a good person, and it'll happen. And that's generally what's dictated the majority of my life through navigation. And I experimented a little bit later on other aspects of it, and I found out no, I should have just stayed the way I was and just like keep the low profile, throw your hooks out in the creek and see what happens, but don't go actively pursuing fish.
But like what was her name?
Which one?
Eileen.
Yes.
Okay. Once she gets out, okay, William helps her. They put him in there and lock him up or whatever, and they leave. And then when he's all finished and he goes back to his ranch, well, who's there? You got a wounded Cody, and then you got the guy that helped her, and then you got Drew Barrymore and Mary Stuart Masterson all sitting in his house, and Addie's cooking. She's making bread, and her feet are barefoot, and there's flour all over the floor. Stuff he's not seen in his family since his mom died, right? Yeah. So he's kind of pissed because she brought, not because she's there, but because she brought everybody with her, okay? Because you could tell by the look on his face, at least to me, from his acting, that he thought he liked it. He liked that he had a woman cooking for him when he came home. Okay. So he, in his head, something flashed that I don't have to be by myself, that maybe this might be my ticket to get someone to spend the rest of my life with on this little tiny ranch of mine by myself since his family died. So that whole scene to me was realistic because he was pissed and he went out and he slammed the door and he stomped on the porch and he was ranting out there because he was ticked off. These people just came into his house, and then he turned around and he came and he said, well, he explained himself and he calmed down and he said, I should be more hospitable, blah, blah, blah. I thought that was a great scene. So there was lots of good scenes in it to me and that were believable for the character and where they were in the world at that time for this movie, even though There was a lot of some really stupid stuff. Like I said, like you agree, but you hate it way more than I do. But there were some dumb things. But to me, overall, the movie to me was a believable movie. The character arcs were good. The bad guy gets his ass kicked, just like I like, because I like good over evil. And the fact that all the four main characters were prostitutes, but there were women. But you also had two or three good guys in there, and then they made the Pinkertons a bunch of dum dums.
Yeah, that's
But
my chief complaint is how they portray the Pinkertons, which they should have been the main antagonists throughout the entire film.
yeah, that
That
would have been better, and they might have been if they didn't
I
make all the changes to the script, because I didn't get to see the script before they made all the changes, because
I don't judge a
sometimes,
movie based on the quality of the writing for the good guys. I
yeah.
typically will play or watch a movie and evaluate the script based on how well the bad guys are written.
Hmm.
And that if that helps you figure me out a little better, for me to want to really watch a movie, I have to have a good antagonistic dick of a bad guy or some nasty force that's willing to sacrifice everything good and holy for their own means.
Hmm.
This movie had really not a whole lot, and Kid Jarrett just wanted to be a dick and have his nice little open air bed out there in the middle of Agua
In the
Dulce,
deserts.
which is really Bracketville, Texas, I might add, which is a little
Yeah.
further up north. Um, it was this is a it could have been a really good movie. Like
Hmm.
this the part where they detail the girls' lives. Like, okay, that's great. I'm happy for each of these girls. You're a mousy one. You're the young one, Drew Barrymore. You're the funny one, Andy McDowell. And Madeline Stowe, you're the one that's been beaten before. And you should be acting like you just listened to 13 hours of Robert Smith from the Cure songs, but instead, you've got this idea, and once you kill and strip the snake, which I've done before, and cook the snake over fire, they have that just like any man, all meat tastes the same. Okay, well, that's kind of a dig on men. Okay, so this is a feminist movie, but
Well, no,
there are
to
ways to
me, I
describe
didn't look at it that way.
the
They
script.
were prostitutes. Every single day, they had sex with 4 or 5 or 6 or who knows how many men,
Then they
okay?
should have done they should have really done like an extra 2 minutes of girls opening doors, letting in dudes, have a few like freeze
Yeah,
frames
like
of like
Best Little
various sex
Whorehouse in
acts.
Texas,
Yeah,
like
they
that.
could have done
I
that where they
I
showed you
I
like
agree with you on that. I think that
30,
it would have added more
30
to the character.
stills.
Mhm,
And instead, like this movie is nothing like a Sam Peckinpah or like a Sergio Leone movie.
mhm.
This is like feminist attempts to write Western, ends up with retard script and completely bungles any
Was it a woman
opportunity
that
to have a
wrote it?
watchable film.
Was it a woman that wrote the script?
The new version, let me check. The old one was written by Yolanda Turner
So it
and
was a
Becky
woman.
Johnson. So they replaced it. They replaced Davis with Josh Kaplan. And let me see who wrote the fucking script on this, because the written by okay. Screenplay was Ken Friedman and Yolanda Turner.
Okay.
They kept Yolanda Turner, but she was
Because
Yolanda Phipps.
she was the original writer.
Yeah, they kept her. They got rid of the other person that did the script with her,
I
and
mean,
they shove in Ken Friedman, who's not a great script writer. This
yeah,
movie could have
the
been an
thing is,
amazing
when
film.
I first started watching it, the very first time I watched it in movie theater, I thought it was really good. I love the fact that um, the way they rode their horses. Because remember what I said? I had a horse. I
Mhm.
rode barrel racing. I hung out with goat ropers and stuff. Um, so all that stuff to me was authentic looking. The
Well, yeah,
story
they
wasn't
actually
perfect.
while
The
they're
story
writing the
wasn't perfect,
script,
but it was believable as a prostitute would be the way that they'd be treated. Like when Mary Stewart goes in there to find out whether or not she's going to even get to use that claim. Okay. The only thing that she had left from her marriage to her husband was the claim to that land. the deed or whatever. And when she went in and they looked it up and said, no, she can't even own something because she had a wedding ring on her finger and now she has nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
To me, I that was devastating. That would be devastating news to know that everything that you put everything into was now gone simply because you have a vagina. And to me that was sad. So to me that added to her character after that, because that's when she said, F them, I am not putting up with this shit, and I'm taking what's mine. It gave her balls. It made her want to go out and get even with these people, because that's how they treated them. These women were treated like doormats, and they were fighting for what they wanted. And to me, that's not so bad at being a feminist movie. I can't read the chat, so anything you don't tell me about, I don't know.
We had porn bots in here, but
Oh,
we're
again.
fixed. It's okay. They help the algorithm.
It's like I feel like, well, sometimes I feel like I'm bad luck, so I draw them in or something.
No. I'm bad luck. I have a site for
No, they
13
came into
years.
one of Drew's streams too, or a couple of them. So
Yeah.
maybe they just, I don't know, they just like live streams, I guess. That's
They
that
do.
what they do?
They go to live streams
There's
trying
a
to
bunch
get that
of
one guy
guys
that's
in here.
lonely.
Your numbers on your what is it? The analytics.
Yeah.
You probably got way more men. So they attack those websites, the ones where the guys like to go. And you can have a lot of those, because those are the guys that click on those porn bots, right?
Well, I mean, porn is the number one driving factor of the internet, and I hate to say
Yeah,
that, but that's just how
apparently.
it is.
But no, I agree with you. I don't think that the story could have been way better. And to me, they did the best they could with what they had. And to me, that the story wasn't as bad because of them. You see what I mean?
Well, yeah, the movie could have been a complete and total flop.
Because they were all good actors.
But yeah,
There was a
the
bunch
four
of
main
great
leads
actors
are
in this
great.
show.
I'm a very big fan of Mary Stuart Master Antonio because she was in a movie with Eric Stoltz in 1987, Some Kind of Wonderful by John Hughes, which is one of my favorite John Hughes movies. It's like the underrated one of all of them. He like never got a lot of praise or press about that, and it's a neat little movie where Mary plays a friend to Eric Stoltz, and she plays the drums, and that's her way of getting her frustrations out because she's a car mechanic. And he's in love with this hot chick that's in the posh group. And he, instead of going for the girl that's like right here, offering her body and soul to him, he's going for the posh chick who doesn't know who he is.
Tomboy. That was my life right there.
Yeah, and that's a
Her
great
character
movie.
was me.
That movie has put Mary Stuart Master Antonio in like my top tier of like teenage like hot chicks. And
yes, just like Kristen McNichol. She always played characters just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there are certain actresses that just did believable jobs at playing the tomboy, which made it good. I can't. What's that? What does that say?
Lasted most of them for you, Bruce. Thank you, Shadow and Sun. Between Shadow and Grumpy, they get obliterated pretty fast, which is nice.
But like when they end up getting the money after they do the shootout with the Gatling gun and stuff, I thought that whole thing was pretty cool. But what was funny about it was how bad everybody's shot was, and
cool.
Yeah, that was kind of dumb, the way that they did that whole fight scene at the end.
Yes.
With bullets flying everywhere and nobody's getting hit. So everybody just had really bad aim or something. I don't know. But
I don't know what was going on with that.
Once that was over and they went back to William's little ranch and they were going to pass the money out and all that stuff, and then she decided to stay there with them. So basically, she got what she wanted. She got a man that was going to be good to her and take care of her, because he was a little sweetheart, and he had a ranch and she knew how to take care of it, and she could help him because she grew up on one. But now she wouldn't be a prostitute anymore. She would be a woman, even though if something happened to him, she would be right back out where she was before. So that kind of made me feel sad. And we don't know what happened to the other girls. They just left.
Yeah, they just went about their business. They could have this movie that John
It
Kaplan
was
is a
missed
director that was
opportunities, is what it was to me.
yes. John
Mhm.
Kaplan is known to be an exploitation director. He is known for directing smut, which is why I think they pushed him in and they were hoping to get a big lesbo film out of this with like a bunch of female feminist hoy.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
rated R. It was a rated R movie.
boy, it didn't feel like it.
I know, but it was. But see, I hate to say it, but today it just seems like they edit out so much stuff. You don't get to really see what the original was. And I
Well,
tried to watch it for that. I tried to watch little things to see if I could remember whether that was the way it was then, or is it because they edited it out.
they had Cinda Williams in the original script as one of the main leads.
Hmm.
And they broomed her right the fuck out along with Tamara Davis whenever they swapped into Jonathan Kaplan. While they're doing the new script, they send the 4 remaining girls off to cowgirl school so they can learn how to shoot, ride, and do other things.
Yeah.
And they did well. They did well, but I could believe they could ride horses. I can't believe they can shoot a gun. I'm still not able to believe that. I'm sorry that the gunplay in this movie, like everybody's got shit for trigger discipline. There's not a single one of them that looks like they're comfortable
Yeah, Mary
using a
Stewart
gun.
seemed like she had never touched a gun in her whole life. Every time she touched one, to me, because I have, I have a few guns and I have gone to training, but um the scenes with Cody's character, I thought she did very believable for with a gun, and the horseback riding scenes, I thought Drew Barrymore was the most believable horse rider.
Yeah,
Those different
and
things like that I did notice because, I do play with guns and I do ride horses, so those 2 things did stand out for me. But,
one of these days we'll have to get your resume real and check that out because I'm pretty certain that you're gonna have a fan base triple by 10. Might
well,
have to move this over to your channel,
but
sort of
that
thing.
we'll see, maybe one day.
But no, the thing is that Drew Barrymore, there's a scene where she's captured and they're
Yeah,
forcing her to drink, and so she grabs a bottle and she just. And I'm like, hey, it reminds you of hanging out with mom, doesn't it? And boy, that was probably pretty low for me to say that, but nobody else heard me until you all did just now,
yeah.
because
Well,
she
I
got
didn't think
famous for
that at
People
all.
magazine.
The part where they were passing around at the early part where she skinned the snake,
Hmm.
Cody skinned the snake, and they were passing around the little, flask,
Yes.
and then each of them were taking a drink, and you could tell that the Mary's character, you could tell she doesn't drink because she just kind of took a little sip, and
Yeah.
then you had Addie McDowell's character take a drink, and she's like, or Andy, I mean, I keep calling her Addie. I don't know why I do. I got a
Andy
niece named
McDowell.
Addie. When she take that drink and then she's like, "This is raunchy," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With her southern accent, I just thought that was I don't know. I really liked that scene. I thought that whole scene was really really good. I liked the banter between the women, and it just seemed fun because I remember sitting around campfires, and I used to sneak cigarettes out of my mom's purse and take them and act like I knew what I was doing, because I'd cough most of the time when I tried to take a couple drags, but I wanted to be cool. So people do dumb shit to impress other people or to fit in for whatever their reasons are. Watching Mary Stuart Masterson's character evolve from the beginning as a scared woman being forced to be a prostitute, not wanting to be with it, and calling out for Cody to help her because she had no one else. Okay. And Cody's down there trying to kick some ass and playing cards. And she says, you lay your hand on her, I'm going to kill you, whatever, basically, because that's her character. And that's what started the whole thing is that Cody was standing up for her friend,
Yeah.
knowing her situation. So to me, I mean, the script was weak, but to me, the overall story arcs for each of the characters I thought was really good. And they made the badass a real horrible, terrible scumbag that you just wanted to see die. So when he dies at the end, you're like, yes, kick this
I didn't have that
asshole.
expectation. I wanted him to be an evil dick on screen, not have the prop department, makeup department make him be a bad guy. And when he got on, I just thought like, oh, look at the little penis there. That's the big bad?
Well, the thing
Are
is,
you fucking kidding me?
Esau got to see him rob a bank and how he handled it. He
Eh,
basically is the boss, like Lex Luthor, and he just tells everybody else what to do. He doesn't really have to do anything. He just stands there with his gun, and he's like, when the guy comes out with the cash, and he kisses Cody, and then he tells that guy that comes out, and he goes, well, give it to her. She's like, I'm just here for my 12,000 whatever amount of money, and
the
he
fat
hands it to
man.
her, and then she
Yeah.
rolls it up and puts it down her shirt. And I thought that was a really good scene between them. It showed him how much he really liked her, and she was all dolled up. I'm sure he's not used to seeing her all dolled up, and he was just an ass. But he's a bank robber. He's a thief. He's a thug. He's a scum.
He's very not believable.
Well, I thought
I
it was a good scene. I liked it. I enjoyed
they
it.
that scene was built up because you saw her back with all the scars on it. And
Mhm.
if they would have never showed you that, then you would have thought that's a weak sauce bad guy. And that's what I think.
Mhm.
Kid Jarrett was probably written much meeker than that. James Russo
Well,
tried to do with what he
from
could.
what I read when they was talking about them bringing people in because so many people thought the script was so boring, they had to add action and stuff. That's probably when the character Kid Jarrett was made up. So they
I
just
think,
scribbled it down on a sheet of paper like this and said,
yeah.
okay, put this in the script because we need to add somebody, call so-and-so and bring them in. And this is what we're going to do. I mean, it was probably like that. I've seen that stuff happen before where they just throw stuff out and they let them ad lib and whatever else because they're trying to add something extra to a scene. And when you're already this much money in and you have all this locations and all the different costumes and all this stuff going on, and you don't want to lose all that because you've already paid for everything. So
Mhm.
you want to try to boost it up any way you can. And that's probably what happened at the last minute is that they decided to throw this one character in.
See, this movie, in my opinion, it played it so safe that it made it such a boring ass warm glass of water, and somebody tries to advertise it to Bruce like, hey, this is a good glass of water. And it's got like no chill to it, it's got no ice in it, it's got no edge, it's just bland ass room temperature shit. I
Mhm.
mean, to me, there's a actress that I was thinking of that I saw in a movie called this, or the TV miniseries The Stand, named Shawnee Smith.
Yeah.
He plays an absolute cunt in the movie The Stand. The character she plays is named Julie Laurie, who's written like an absolute cunt in the book The Stand.
Yeah.
And this movie, for me, screamed out to me it would be improved by at least somebody with the ability to be that much of a fucking miserable bitch. And that the entire thing is just like they have this ensemble
Well,
cast and
to me,
everybody's all sisterly.
it seemed to me that um they had the script and the first script people, whoever, whatever that was, the casting people had already picked the four women to play the characters. Okay.
Mhm.
So when they were having all these boring problems and stuff, and they said, okay, we want Drew, we want you to show your boobs, we want this, that, and they were going to change this scene or whatever. She probably was like, hell
They
yeah.
didn't show the boobs until the edited version had gone out to theaters, and then the DVDs came out. The boobs were only released in the DVD releases, the
I
home
know, but
releases.
what I'm saying is when they film it, okay, they didn't film it later and then put it on the DVD. They
Yeah.
filmed it all in during the same time because you got to film from that direction, that one, and from over here and all that. And you got a whole room full of people and you having to flash your tits. Okay. It's filmed at that moment. So
Mhm.
any any of those scenes that were put together was filmed on set, why they were out there working in the desert or whatever, that was filmed. And then later on, they decided that's all editing. That has nothing to do with the actors. What I'm trying to say is that when they came to each of the actresses and said, okay, we've changed these scenes and we would like for you to show your ass and you to show this and you to be more affectionate or whatever. Okay. And
Mhm.
then each woman said, well, I don't feel comfortable doing that or whatever. But Drew said, hell yeah, I'll show my boobs. Cause you could tell when she took that outfit off and stuff that she didn't have no top on in front of all those people. So she was blatantly able to do it. And that might have been even a way better scene if most of it hadn't ended up on the editing room floor. You see what I mean?
This movie suffered so much from ego from the start,
Yeah.
from the absolute start, and I think that that's one of the things that hurt this movie because there's a lot of cuts in the film where you can tell something has been improperly edited, where they've started rolling too late or rolling too early, and you have like an awkward scene here or like a quick cut there.
And
The
see, that's
shootout,
all editing again.
the shootout is the worst part of the film for me. As much as you're enjoying the action at the end, I'm watching it going.
Yeah, but you're used to watching all that. Just like I said, I like kung fu, martial arts, the
Yeah.
nunchucks, all that kind of stuff, the action. And when I'm watching those types of movies, I'm very picky because I've seen tons of really good shit and I expect any scene, to be good. But when it comes to shooting a gun, a rifle or whatever else, I'm not as picky. Like when that one movie where the guy was teaching the young girl how to shoot from the rooftop.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah,
now
professional.
I wouldn't have been able to tell you whether that looked professional or not because I don't know that I don't know about professional stuff like that. But
Well, I'll just
if they
say
did
from
the
the angle that they
nunchucks, I
show
would have been
you,
able to tell you that looked like shit.
the
That
angle
person touched us before.
the
You know
angle
what I
that they're
mean?
showing you on this, the character is facing you dead on.
Yeah.
So they did a wonderful job with actually doing that right.
Uh-huh.
Now, I'm pretty certain that that was a prop gun, not staffed by Alec Baldwin, and people were safe.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we would have known about it in 1994.
Yeah, for sure.
But
But what I'm
I'm
saying is certain details like that really didn't face me too much because I really already by that scene, I already liked the characters and I wanted to see him die, especially when um the young man dies, on the
yeah,
set.
that was the only sad part of the movie, and I wasn't really phased by it. I'm like, oh well, there's an
And we
actual
don't know
evil
what
act.
happened to him. We don't know what they did to him. They didn't show any of that stuff. But
No.
we saw the after effects. And so all I cared about was seeing the girls kick some ass, And then you had Mary Stuart Masterson loading guns and throwing rifles to people and different things like that. So it was almost like a team kind of thing, which I thought was pretty cool. Because Cody did most of Cody, and it seemed like Cody and Drew did most of the shooting, and Drew was able to use two hands because you got to remember she grew up in a show. Her parents did a show, trick riding and guns and all that stuff. So she was probably learning how to use guns and doing all that stuff when she was young before she ended up having to become a prostitute. So to me, that was believable. Now the character that to me that seemed the weakest when it came to any of the gun stuff was Andy McDowell's character because
Mhm.
she only used a rifle. So apparently no matter what they just could not get her to hold the pistols right or something, so she ended up just using a rifle. So to me she was the weakest when it came to any of that type of stuff. Now when it came to the flirting and the debutante type of stuff, she did great. Okay, so she was made for certain areas and not for others. That's why I thought she was adorable in the scene on the ranch when she was in there making bread and stuff like that, because that was more her type of acting abilities, for the demure woman. Um, Yeah, wasn't she in the movie Groundhog Day?
Yes.
Okay, I knew I recognized her. I was like, golly, I remember seeing this other movie. She was very mousy and calm and stuff in that movie too. But she's very beautiful. She's a beautiful, she's still beautiful from the couple of pictures that I got to look when I looked her up. So, you know, all I can think of, the only thing I can think of from the few things that I thought weren't very good was when I read about it and they said they had made changes to the script. So at the last minute, when they hand you a piece of paper like this and said, we've made these changes to the script and we want to add this in, and they go, okay. And most actors are used to that because it happens a lot. But I just think that Cody's character, she just didn't want to do certain things like the nudity part. She said, only if you film me this way. Now, I'm sure she had modesty patches and stuff on from the front.
Mhm.
Okay. Unlike Drew letting hers just be all out there.
Woohoo!
Because even in the water in that one scene, you could tell from certain shots that Drew did not have modesty patches on.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
And they do use those. I mean, you'll see these things that definitely stand out when they're not going to show anything. Now it looks like they're nude from back behind or whatever, because a lot of people don't mind showing their butt because when they go to the beach, they pretty much have a thong on anyways. You're going to see their butt, but it's the other parts in the front that they don't want to show. So I think that she just said it wasn't in her contract and they made the changes to the script. She just said, no, I'm not gonna. And so did Andy McDowell. She probably said, no, I'm not going to do any nudity. I didn't sign up for that. Or you're going to have to pay me way more money or something. I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't have a clue. But to me, that just seems believable that that's what happened to those two people at the last moment due to the changes in the script. And that's why it seems awkward in some areas because they added things. Uh, and then the editing, they're trying to edit their way out of all the changes. You see what I mean? And it
Mhm.
just chopped it all up. So I can believe that. And to me, that was more believable of what happened than to me the story being so terrible. Because I don't think the story was terrible. I still don't. I thought it was a overall story could have been better and more developed, but the character arcs for each of the characters and things I thought was really still like it. I still thought it was very good.
It's kind of weird because even like the story, you're saying it's not terrible. I'm attacking the story because there's no narrative drive for me to want to watch it. The four ladies leave a town. Whoopee, the Pinkertons can't find them. Change channel.
Hmm.
Uh, this movie just absolutely missed me on about every narrative level there is. There's nothing. I'll never watch it again.
Well,
And
good.
as much as I like Mary Stuart Masterson, and all four of these leads are really good in their own way. Although Drew Barrymore seems to pick the scripts that absolutely I avoid, like Riding in Cars with Boys. I've never seen it, never will watch it. Don't give a shit about it.
I haven't seen it either.
Okay,
I loved her
um,
in Charlie's Angels.
I haven't seen those either. None of the Charlie's
I
Angels
love both
movies.
those movies too. But that's what I'm saying. There are movies out there, and I think that this movie was put out to basically draw as many women as they could.
And I don't know if that was successful. I mean, the movie didn't make a lot of
No,
impact
I
back
don't think
then.
it made a lot of money either. And
It
but see, that has a lot to do with to me, you could have a wonderful script and wonderful actors and stuff, but if the editing is shit, it hurts the movie. If the music is shit, believe it or not, it hurts the movie. All these little details will cause people to say, because a person goes to the movie and they love it. What do? They leave and they're like telling all their friends, oh my God, you got to go see Maverick. It was so good. You got to go see this movie. It's so good. This, that, and the other. And they go, well, I'm going to go see it instead of waiting until it comes to their house or they can pay for it and have 10 of their friends in their living room. Okay. Which is totally different than it was when 1994, when this movie came out. If a person doesn't watch it, or most guys would go see it because their girlfriend dragged them to it. Okay. Because it's a girls movie like that. what was that one movie that came out? Something Pants or whatever.
The Sisterhood of
Sisterhood of
Traveling
Something
Pants, another
Pants or
movie I'll
something.
never watch.
I never saw it. My
Mhm.
sisters loved it, but I still haven't seen it. Okay, it's not something I wanted to see. The
Sure.
reason I wanted to see this one is because it looked like a western, which I like, and it had 4 great actors in it.
Should have
Actresses.
been called Good Girls because there's nothing
And
in
it
this
was called
movie.
Bad Girls, and I like
It
that.
should have been called Good Girls because they don't do anything bad. They're 4 women that aren't really able to make choices because they're women in the Old West. But for all
Well,
the
that's
things
why
that
they were
happen,
bad girls, because they were prostitutes.
there's nothing bad about them. There's not one scene where
In
you see them.
1800s, that was bad to be a prostitute. That's why that's what the whole concept of the movie is. The very
Yeah.
beginning, when the group of people are dragging her to the hanger, okay, kill her because she shot a guy trying to rape a woman. Because
I just
women were worthless. Women were not worth a horse. I mean,
it's such a
if
tepid.
you hurt a horse or killed a horse back then,
Yeah,
you could be killed for it. You could be hung. But if
we
you
still
beat
have
up and
laws
killed a
about
prostitute,
anti-horse violence.
nothing happened to you. They didn't care. They were nothing but property. They were like a boot, you know. That's what worth they had. If you probably took a pair of boots and stole them because somebody left them outside their hotel door or whatever, you'd probably go to jail for that. But you could beat and kill a prostitute and nobody gave a crap.
Nobody
You know what
cares.
I'm saying? So I'm just saying, to me, that was the draw for me. That was the draw for me to go see it. And the reason I picked it this last time is because when I was looking for that movie to watch for last week, this was in the box. And I went, oh, I want to see that again because I hadn't seen it for a long time. So, and I still loved it. I still thought it was good. I mean, it wasn't I'd give it like a 7. I mean, I don't think it was as good as Tombstone or Maverick or a lot of other movies but I don't think it was the acting. I thought the
Mhm.
acting was good considering what they had. I thought the scenes were beautiful. I thought the music was good. I thought the realisticness with the animals and stuff, all of it was realistic to me.
The
So,
horseplay was good. That was great.
mhm.
Um,
And a few of the gun scenes, that bothered me with Mary Stuart Masterson, the way she handled a gun. You could tell, but she was supposed to be shitty because she was a housewife up until recently when she
yeah,
became thrown into a brothel and became a prostitute. So she probably never handled a gun. And to me, it was believable because that's the character she was supposed to be.
I
You know, when those people that carry a gun like this, you see
mhm.
them, real
Yes,
people.
yes.
I mean, nobody's supposed to do that, but I see people still do it because they
We
never
had a
handle a
Navy
weapon.
chief that carried a gun poorly like that until my GM1 finally got a hold of him and showed him to either carry it proper or just let somebody else handle it.
Yeah.
Um, I can't. I'm happy you like this movie. Somebody has to. I can. God, it's a turd.
Well, I'm sure
It was
most
supposed to
men
be.
probably didn't enjoy it.
It was supposed to be filmed in Northern California, but like everything else that Tamara Davis started off with, they scrapped that too. This was supposed to be filmed there. They brought it to Texas, and somebody said, "We'll start it off in Echo City." What's that? It's a fictional town. Don't worry about it. But then they set it in Agua Dulce, which, like I said, I'm pretty familiar with,
Mhm.
and the sets look good. The music killed the other part of the movie for me because every time like a new scene would start, felt like the music started to blare a bit. Wife complained it was too loud. Um,
Yeah, I
I
think some of this, I don't know if I thought maybe it might be my DVD because it seemed like it went, you know what I mean? The music
yeah,
level, it wasn't like uh
whoever did
level.
the sound editing
Yeah, it
did a
was up
shit
and
job.
down. So to me, almost everything that I thought was negative about this movie, that why I wouldn't have gave it a higher score, it was a little bit about the story. A couple of scenes that I could tell were at a sound stage or something. They just had a vibe that didn't set well with me for it to be a Western outdoors type stuff. And the editing, I thought that the editing was terrible. I thought so many mistakes and stuff because of editing. that this is one of the worst movies for editing I've ever seen. But I like the actresses, I like the beautiful scenery, the animals, the story, the little bits of romance that we got to have in there between William and and what was her name again? Madeline.
Madeline
And then
Stowe. Yeah.
no, I mean, yeah, Eileen. Yeah,
Okay.
Eileen's character in William, I thought that was adorable, believable to me. And then, the romance kind of like, to me, it wasn't even romance. It was like a partnership of two people that bonded due to the tragedies that happened to them in their life. And it was the same person that caused the tragedies. So that was a way deeper connection to me for the movie. So I thought those two stories were really good. It's just that I don't know. I wish I could have seen a better edited version of this movie and see how much better it might have been.
There's no director's cut available that I could find.
No,
Search
I
the
couldn't
web.
find anything either. And
I
this one, it says special scenes and all that stuff on the DVD. When you click it, there's nothing there.
No.
So
The
I was
DVD.
like, "Oh, I don't know."
It's
So
like whenever I say things like, "I'll have the links for you in the description," and I I totally forget about that.
well,
I fumble that
I
ball.
know, but to me, see, that's why the overall package of something like when you are first scouting to do a movie, the first thing they do is they find a script they like, okay, and they say, okay, we're going to take this script, they break it down, and they take out all the places they're going to film. This house, that house, all the different places they're going to need. Then they have people that go out and look for those places. Then they take pictures and they send them back. And then the person that's one of the producers, some of the producers, and maybe the director, a few other characters get together and say, well, I really like it. I think these scenes are good. I think this movie could be filmed in these places. Then you have that's when the casting and stuff starts coming. Who do you think would be good for this person? Blah, 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 blah. And then once you get the cast, you get the locations, then you start bringing in crew. Who's going to do this filming? Who's going to do that? Who's going to be the prop, master? All the different characters come. Then you get the people that are going to cook for everyone. You got all there's thousands of people involved in making a movie. Even a lower budget one has hundreds and hundreds of people in it involved, editing, makeup. I mean, just so much stuff. TV shows the same way. Now it's getting to be more and more elaborate for television shows. So like Yellowstone, I mean, look at it. That was like they spent a shit ton of money on making that, and each year they do it. What happens? The actors demand more money because they know their character is popular. And like when what was it, Big Bang Theory came out, it got worse and worse because each year they had to
Make it more for the normie crowd instead of what
and they
was
start
originally
they
conceived
start
as.
getting cheaper writers and stuff
Yeah.
from behind the scenes, and you get cheaper editors, and all that. When you start cutting the money away from the people that actually put everything together, the quality goes down. You could see it from the TV show. What was it? True Blood. It was a great, phenomenal show. I love the first two seasons were awesome, but then after that, it seemed like it started going downhill really quickly. And it wasn't the acting, but the stories went downhill because you got cheaper writers. You get, cheap shit. You get what you pay for.
Hmm.
Like with comic books and all the stuff that's going on right now in our comic book movies. Instead of bringing people in that know what they're talking about when it comes to certain characters or whatever in a comic book, they just bring in some person that was maybe an assistant to so and so, and they're my friend or whatever, and they'll do whatever they're told. So they say, we want this, that, and the other. They sit down and they do it. And they write it down. They don't have any connection to it or anything. And they hand it over. It's just a piece of paper to them and a paycheck. So, and that hurts the overall beauty of what a movie's supposed to be, which is entertainment. Okay. And that's how I look at it. I put my personal, um, my personal point of view and everything, because when I'm watching it, I'm seeing what I can get out of it. What does it do for my character? What does it do for me? Does it make me love them? Does it make me hate them? What kind of emotions does it bring out in me? And that's how I grade. That's what I'm doing. I'm not a professional at this or anything, but that's how I look at all these films. So it just depends on what it brings out in me, whether I like it or not. To you, it brought out all the bad things, so you didn't enjoy it. But that's normal. Not everyone's going to like everything that, every movie that comes out. Somebody's going to hate, just like that Roadhouse one, that Willie's whatever Roadhouse or whatever. I
Willy's
still think it's one.
Wonderland. You don't like Willy's Wonderland
Oh,
with Nick
Wonderland.
Cage?
That's what it was. Oh my God. It was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. But I can't help it, but I'm being honest about it. But other people loved it. So, that's just the way it is. All I can do is tell you what I thought was good about it. And that if you want to see this type of thing, with these character arcs and things and beautiful sunsets and I just loved it, that stuff of it, just like I did with Tombstone. Tombstone, I don't know. They
That's the
just did
movie.
such a good job getting so many different people for all the different jobs to put it all together and have it turn out so phenomenal. Because that's why years ago, Academy Award meant something.
Well, Tombstone is an actual movie with an actual script with actual bad guys in it that you actually want to see them get their just desserts.
Yeah.
This movie here, I
He was
love
just an
Madeline Stowe.
asshole.
In real life, Madeline Stowe is not a bad person, but in this movie, she played pretty tepid. And I was expecting her to get back with the bad guy at the very end of the film because that's what women do. And
Yeah.
I know that sounds to be like, oh my God, you're such a dick, Bruce.
Well,
Well, fuck off.
no, I can understand that because typically that's what usually does happen.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's
Even the
this
movie The Expendables,
yes,
with Jason Statham's character, he gets cheated on by the woman, and he still goes and defends her and beats the bad
dumbass.
guy up that beat her up and takes her back.
And then
So
he's
it
gonna.
was just reversed roles. Instead of it being the woman, it was the guy. So it does happen a lot in
I
movies.
really wanted the Expendables 2 and 3 to have her cheat on him again and again, just to show the dumbass that, like, hey, she was bad once. She's going to keep running around and getting some other dickhead's dick while
Yeah,
you're gone. But that
and
didn't
I've seen
happen.
that in movies too.
That'd
But
be good sequel
yeah.
fodder.
But that's them saying if you have, that's what makes a movie a gem, is when you get a real good group and the director and the actors, the writing, the editing, the people that do the music, the people that do the locations, all the different stuff. When it all comes together, it's going to be a real kick-ass movie. But when you have one or two sticks that stick out like that because they're not going in, you're trying to cram it into a place that doesn't belong, it hurts. It hurts the overall, like the Cowboy Way,
Yeah.
same thing. It
Well, the
it,
Cowboy
it comes
Way actually
down.
had a bad guy in it that, I mean, as much as he was boring, at least he was like a bad guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if the guy Madeline Stowe hated was really a bad guy because I only see like there's two instances where I'm like, well, that's a dick because he
Yeah,
whips her
most
by
of
the
it's
neck.
this.
And
Most of the bad guy stuff that you hear about anything of him is
yeah,
told to you,
it's all
not
talked about.
visual. Yeah.
And I absolutely thought that movie, like, I didn't see bad guy 101 with this. The
Yeah.
worst bad guy in this movie was played by the widow of Corporal or Colonel
Yeah, the
Claiborne.
Colonel.
Colonel Claiborne, and she should have had a monocle and a mustache to twirl. That would have been better. This entire movie should have been the fucking Pinkertons ripping through the countryside,
Yeah, because
tearing apart
that
every
was one of the
friend.
things I noticed was why put the scene in with her hiring the Pinkerton detectives and
Wasted.
not use it to more of an extent.
Well, the
The
reason is
only
that
scene that
men
they
are
did
bad.
that made me think they were total dumbasses and they just threw them under the bus is what I think from
Mhm.
the script area was when she got whipped and he had taken her into the small side of Chinatown and she was getting the treatment. And the two guys go down. They're saying, "Isn't that the girl the prostitute we're looking for, the whore or whatever he called her?"
Yeah.
And he said, "No, that's not her." And he goes, "You just had too many drinks or whatever," because they were both drinking.
Yep.
Supposedly. But then they go down there and they talk to the guy that was carrying the woman. He didn't even ask her or ask him, "Who was the woman you were carrying? Where is she?" You know what I'm saying? That's what a detective would do. So there was things like that I thought was they just made them into buffoons basically. And now I don't know if that was that definitely didn't have anything to do with editing because that was all script. So see, there was noticeable things like that to me that could have been so much better if they'd because it wasn't the actors. I think the two actors did a pretty good job considering what little they had to work with. You know what I mean?
They were paying a mortgage.
So the
Sorry.
younger guy, he looks so familiar to me. I just cannot picture what other stuff I've seen him in.
Yeah.
What does that say? I can't hear. I can't read
Just
it.
call it Pinkertons. It could have been a movie about the Pinkertons going after these girls, and it would have been a much better film.
Yeah.
God, I fucking hated this movie. I'm so sorry.
Hey, that's good. You gotta have bad
Giving it a
movies.
2 out of 10.
Well, you
Discussion
gotta
of it
have
made it
bad
sink.
movies to know when you got a great movie. That's you know what I'm saying? But that's what we're supposed to do. We can't just do nothing but tens. I mean, what fun is that? But I still liked it. I still thought it was a good movie. It definitely wasn't a 10. I give it a 7.
The only
But
10 we've
most of
watched is
mine was the editing is what I thought was really, really bad in this whole movie was to me was that. But I thought the characters were good. I thought the story for the girls was good. But I saw them in a totally perspective. Just like with Lars and the Real Girl. My perspective right from the very beginning was totally different than yours. What I took away from the beginning of the movie for his character and his character arc. So,
See,
yeah.
we could write a script for Lars and the Real Girl, but we could import the movie Mannequin with Kim Cattrall in it.
Yeah, yeah.
It would
See,
be a
but
better
the thing
film.
is, that's what's so cool about it is, to me, is taking a story that's in your head and putting it down on paper and trying to get people to see it and see your vision come to life.
Yeah.
And what's sad about it is you have so many young people or older people write things. People like it a lot, but then the writer cops out and says, "Sure, we'll change this or we'll change that," instead of it being a a straight woman or whatever. We're going to make her make her a lesbian, or we're going to change this person to be this or that. And you change your characters all up. And I've had people tell me, "Will you do this or will you do that?" And I'm said, if I do that, then it's not the same story anymore. It's a totally different one, and I'm not doing that. So
You said, we can't all be watching 10s. The only movie we've watched that's an absolute 10 is Big Trouble in Little China.
I thought Tombstone. To me, Tombstone was my
9.
favorite of every movie that we've done so far.
That's still a 9 for me. It's
And
a good movie.
and True Lies was one of my top movies so far that we've done.
True Lies is probably the best Schwarzenegger post Terminator 2 for me. But
what I'm saying is I like lots of different things. It just depends. It just depends. To me, I don't judge a movie because it's a Western or because it's a action or
I've noticed you like Westerns though, because atypically they have horses in them, and horses and Janet are a happy marriage.
Yeah, but you don't have it. That movie, Wind River. Did you ever see it?
Years ago.
It had horses and stuff in it, but it wasn't a Western.
It felt like it was adapted. I'll just say that. Whitechapel has an interesting set of ideas here. He says, make a Pinkertons movie, then you can do the sequel for Bad Girls, where the Pinkertons actually do pose a threat.
Yeah, where they have the girls that left The
Yeah,
three that left, you could do a whole story around them if someone was to sit and write a script for it.
we could just do it in the spirit of Louis L'Amour, and it would be a hit. Because if you take the basic story structure that Louis L'Amour did,
Mhm.
you will have a fantastic Western story,
But see,
and it
that's the
wouldn't be
sad
hard.
fact is somebody like Louis L'Amour, his awesome Western books that he wrote. The thing is, you got to have somebody take it from the pages of his story and put it on paper to where people are acting it out. And then you have to have a director and the producers that all want to see that same story. See, that's the problem. Once you start bringing in all these people with money to pay to get it done, they go, well, I don't really like the way they do this, or I don't like the way they do that. And then the movie starts to change. That's the problem, is that the people that love something, they pick this script up and say, oh, this script is so good. I want to see this come to life, and get more people like that feel the passion for that. Just like Superman movie or something. They all have to want it, the
Don't talk
same
to me about
thing, for it to
DC's.
be successful in that way.
I
And that's not
recently
what
watched.
happens.
I recently watched Man of Steel again, and I doubled down on my negative review of it. Um, I think it's a shit movie, and
Mhm.
I know people are
Which
going to be
one was
upset.
Man of Steel? Which one was that one? What actor was in it?
2013 with Henry Cavill, the Beefcake,
Well,
and
when I said Superman, I was mean the one with the Christopher Reeve movie.
78 with Christopher Reeve, the good Superman movie, although it has no fight scene in it. Yeah, that's a good movie.
Well, I just love Lex Luthor. That's who I loved.
Well, Gene Hackman's a badass,
Oh, I just
and
love Gene Hackman. He is just, he was a phenomenal actor. I hardly saw any movie that he was in that I didn't think was awesome.
the last movie he did, I wanted to see. I never did. I'm going to have to fix that. I just watched The French Connection after I watched Man of Steel because I had to cleanse my palate. The French Connection is one of my favorite movies. It's another William Friedkin movie. I'll just say that. But he was in a movie. I think it was called. Is it Runaway Jury? I think it's Runaway Jury. There was a movie.
Runaway Jury?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Now, there's a movie with Gene Hackman on the side of a train where they actually filmed Gene Hackman on the side of a train on the side of a mountain. And that's all practical effects and Gene Hackman hanging on the side of a train at the age of like 75. And the guy was it was right before he retired in like 2003 or 4.
Mhm.
But it's a movie I wanted to see, and I just never did see that. But he had a series of hits throughout all of his life, and I love Gene Hackman. It's going to be a sad day when he passes. He's like 90, I guess. He's in
Yeah.
that red zone where we need to erect a medical wall around him and not let him fall over.
Yeah,
Should have done the same
he's
thing
a
with.
phenomenal actor.
But
I mean, he's
this
so
movie
good
has
and so believable at every single character I've ever seen him play.
yeah. This
You don't
movie
see
has
that
the
very
late
often.
Robert Loggia in it for a
Yeah.
brief scene, and that was at one point when I recognized Robert Loggia's character was Kid Jarrett's father. I was really happy because I thought, "Oh, cool, we're going to have a good movie." No,
That happens sometimes too.
um, oh, I'm finito on this. You guys have heard all my complaints about this movie, and the few things I liked. The music is probably separate from the film. If you have the soundtrack of this movie, it's probably really good. I want to say it's a Goldsmith music movie.
Mhm.
Let me find out who did the music on this because I want to be accurate when I say this. Music is by Jerry Goldsmith.
Mhm.
And for those of you who don't know Jerry Goldsmith movies, the films that he's mainly been invested in is a series of 1980s, 90s, and early 2000s films. My internet, don't crap out on me now.
I thought the music was good.
The music is kind of okay, but it's got poor sound editing.
Yeah,
It
see, that's not the music. They make it, and then the editor's the one that screwed it up. See, if they could take every single person out that did anything at all with editing and put in decent people, I just think this movie would have been a lot better. I see so many things that have to do with editing, because you got to remember, um, they made the music before they filmed the movie, because they wanted to make sure, or not, I mean, right after they filmed the movie, because usually they look at the movie, they watch it, and then they work on what their music is. Just like when they had what was his name? Ray Parker Jr. come in to write a
Ghostbusters.
song for their movie,
Yeah.
and that's what he did, and it was phenomenal. So it just depends on just like I said, the view of the person that they're hiring for the position that they're going to do.
The
If they
OST, the official soundtrack for this movie is probably really good. It's written by Jerry Goldsmith,
Mhm.
and he does Star Trek Nemesis and the Sum of All Fears. He did a lot of Star Trek in his life. He did Star Trek Voyager for all 168 episodes.
Yeah.
He did the Hollow Man movie, which is a horrible movie but has a great score in it.
Yeah.
He did Small Soldiers, which is one of my favorite Dennis Leary movies because he plays a complete dick in that film. Air Force One, he was conductor for that movie as well. I mean, the guy he was hitting home runs left and right. Jerry Goldsmith now is no longer with us as of 2004, but yeah, Gene Hackman's like 92. It's very sad that this movie could have had so many things being said nicely about it if they would have actually followed the path of how to make a hit.
Yeah.
But
That's what I'm saying. That's why it takes a team to do it, to be successful,
well,
and
they obviously
for
did
it
not have a
overall to be
team.
good.
Nobody here. They sent the girls to cowgirl camp, and it worked on everybody but Andy McDowell because she doesn't really look like she's comfy with that rifle. But whatever,
Mhm.
she's playing a housewife, like you said.
Mhm.
But the cowboy camp was good. The sunsets were good. Makeup department was all right. They by not having Madeline Stowe look
Costumes were
super
good
hot.
too.
What?
The costumes.
It looks like a fashion show.
No, it didn't to me at all. It didn't at all to me. I even went through a couple of pictures. Here, I'm gonna go get one of them. I'll be right back. Just give me 1 second.
No, it, this might be it. While he's doing that, I'm looking at a movie trailer called Narrow Margin.
I don't know if you, I'm gonna move. I gotta move a couple things so there's no glare on it. On the screen here.
Yeah, that's it. Narrow Margin. One of the last movies that Gene Hackman did. He's actually dangling on the side of a train. But it was in 1990. He didn't retire till 2004. He did a handful, about 20 movies up till then. Guy was excessively prolific. Very good film.
See that?
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
my great great grandparents. That's real
Oh, shit.
of
Here we go.
people and a wagon.
I blew you up. I'm sorry, hon.
But it's okay. I just wanted you to see.
You know the fashion for that genre of American history. I don't.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm sentimental. I've been working on my family tree, with my DNA and all that. So 6 generations up on both sides of my parents, from heritage, and it's amazing the details you can find about different things, about who rode over on what ship they came over on. I mean, all kinds of things. It's very interesting. But the fact that that's what I'm saying. To me, I'm drawn in not just by the shoot 'em up, bang 'em up, sex
Mhm.
them up or whatever. It it's also what they're wearing, what their character is, what they're supposed to be doing with their character. I mean, just lots of different things like that. To me, it's important to pull me in and make me have feelings for them. Okay, and that's my way of viewing it. And to me, it took me a few minutes, but once Cody shot the colonel, and then they took her and they were going to hang her, and it was everything that the pastor was saying about her was so. It just made me very emotional because I really could feel for her character because they're nothing, and I'm a woman. Maybe in my life right this moment, I kind of feel the desperation and the sadness and the um I don't know, the loss of not being worth anything or feeling that way. I don't know if that makes any sense, but just like
Makes
I
perfect
said,
sense.
lots of things happen to people, and it makes that person sensitive to certain things. Just like you, every time you watch anything where people handle the weapons wrong, it jumps out you like a giant neon sign, right?
Mhm.
And the rest of your life, that's just going to happen because you can't help it because of the training you've been through, just like with the wrestling, parts with the wrestling and stuff like that. That's natural. I mean, that's just because you have lived your life and you've seen those things, and those things are important to you that it'd be believable. I saw the movie, what was it, Hunt for Red October? It was a
Amazing
submarine
film.
movie, right?
Yep.
I'm making sure I'm doing the right one.
Alec
And I had
Baldwin, Sean Connery,
I
and
had
Tim
people
Curry.
tell me that was it the one that had a dog on there?
Nope, that is Crimson Tide.
Okay, with that movie, the one with the dog that was in the submarine, they said that was the stupidest shit they'd ever seen in their life because there would never be a dog in any submarine. I don't care who the hell.
They've never been around some old Navy son of a bitch that just wouldn't fucking retire.
Okay,
Because
well,
that absolutely is something that you would find in some guy from Vietnam era fucking Navy, that here it is in the early 90s and this motherfucker's not retired yet. This guy's a walking fossil and he's got his dog pissing on the goddamn pipes.
well, what I'm saying is you can't have, I don't know, you got to have stuff that makes you believable, and to draw me in, it's got to be heartfelt. I got to feel like I have a connection with the character, and if I have a connection with them, then I like it. If I don't have a connection and I don't feel anything for it, then I just don't like it. But I always try to find something with each character. I try to, um, I don't know, I try to feel them out.
I I couldn't really do much with this movie, and I apologize.
No, that's fine
Um,
because
I
that's what makes
do.
it good. It's your point of view. It's what jumps out at you.
I want to focus on what we're doing next.
Okay, what are we gonna do? Uh-oh.
It's the month of September. We
Mhm,
have 4 weeks till the happy month of October starts.
mhm.
I don't even think it's 4 weeks.
Oh,
Let
that
me.
reminds me, I gotta send you a DM and uh,
Okay.
talk
Um,
to you about something.
sure. Uh, the next movie we're going to review is the movie from 1991 or 1981, when Disney was at their finest. I'm talking about the Peter McNichol, Caitlin Clark movie Dragon Slayer. And if you haven't seen it, get a physical copy of it because it's fucking amazing. Um, this is one of those movies that this is one of those films that when you look at it in the lens of today, they'll never make it. They'll never make anything like this in
What's the
today.
name of it again? I'm gonna write it down. I was getting a pen.
Dragon Slayer. I'm going to send you the link for it right now for IMDb. That
It
way
sounds
you
familiar.
oh,
It
you
sounds
probably
familiar.
watched it as a young girl. This is not a movie that this is not a movie that they hold very highly today. I'm just going to say that the the special effects department in this movie is using the things they learned on the Hoth planet set for Empire
Mhm.
Strikes Back. And they used a lot of those techniques that were used on the Tauntauns and the AT-AT walkers. The go motion, the go motion is what they use to animate this dragon, which absolutely should scare the shit out of any 6-year-old Bruce. And it sure as hell did. Oh my god, Janet looks really good.
What do you
Hold
think
on.
of this?
Guys, hold on here. Hold on. What do you think of that, guys? Halloween's coming, so she's going to be doing a lot of VTuber stuff.
Ooh, I like this one. I could be
Okay,
She-Hulk too. See, or she alien. Hey,
that's kind of scary.
it's like there we go with this. I remember when we did
Grumpy,
slave dancers. No, just kidding.
I didn't mean to bring up Grumpy's comment before you started. Okay. Anyway, Bruce is being a pig here. Sorry, guys. Um, this movie that we're watching next week is one of my movies that I watch and my father absolutely hates. But this is a film that I love quite a bit. You know me as a guy. I like special effects. You have good special effects on a movie, you've got me sitting and watching, eating popcorn, wishing to God that Ray Harryhausen was still alive.
Is this a sci-fi?
This is a fantasy movie.
Oh, fantasy. Okay.
This is a fantasy film that our friends at Disney made, and they would never make this today.
There's quite a few movies you and I have reviewed that they would never make again, ever.
Yeah, and
And they
this
wouldn't make it again. They wouldn't even do the script at all if they got it.
this is like one of these movies that they did such a bang up job. If you go to any gaming store, any friendly local gaming store, any game store staffed by a human being, and you talk about this, anybody that was born in the year 1978 or before is going to tell you how they love this movie if they've seen it. And Peter McNichol's in it, Caitlin Clark is in it, and yeah, Ray Harryhausen is awesome, says Shadow and Sun. Did you see your reviews of his Sinbad movies? I've watched the Eye of the Tiger review you did, and I didn't disagree. I absolutely love the Sinbad movies, even if the script is very weak in them. We will be reviewing them next year because I will make it just to where we have enough time to where your review is over here and my review is over here. I want to do Dragon Slayer because this is like one of my favorite movies about dragons that's not campy as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with the movie we just watched is that it had a high concept and a low effort and a low result. It could not be called camp because there's no humor to it. There was no tongue-in-cheek or wink at the camera shit. There was none of that. And this movie tries to take itself way too seriously for any expectation, and that's why Bruce gives it a 2 out of 10. Because the more I think about it, the further it sinks. The more I cut,
the movie we just reviewed.
Yeah, the movie we just reviewed, I'm giving it a 2 out of 10. What was your score for
a 7? I already told you I gave it a 7.
Okay.
Simply because I don't see it the way you see it at all. I think it was mostly all editing. Where it was the downfall of it. And yes, there were a few things in the script that you could tell wasn't supposed to be there or something. But see, to me, you wouldn't even see that if it was edited properly. See, even with the music, the way that sometimes it was up and then it was down, or that it was way too high and then it was real low. I didn't like any of that. And that had all to do with editing too. So and I'm not going to be mad because I didn't get to see someone's boobs or there wasn't enough sex or something like that, because it was for women and I'm a woman. So, but it's definitely a woman movie.
Yeah.
It's a chick flick or whatever you want to call it, but it's not, God, what was that word I was looking for? I can't remember what the word was, but to me, it had good character arcs, had good stories behind it. If you listened and paid attention to what they were talking about. And yeah, the villain could have been more villainous, but to me, he just seemed rushed. He seemed like he was put in at the last minute. And I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just saying from my point of view. And but besides those few things, I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was pretty good. I liked the 4 women's characters. I thought all of them were very good and believable as their character, for what, they're it's kinda hard to have a lot of dialogue when you have so many leads in a movie too. So, the Pinkertons being dumbasses, basically, that hurt the movie the most next to the editing. But that's my point of view on it.
Okay.
But I do think there'll be men out there that would like the movie, not because they think there's going to be TNA in it, but I do think that they think that it's interesting to um, hear about these women's struggles and stuff like that. So it just depends on the person.
I was thinking it was because of their high soy content, but okay.
But that's my review of it. And I knew that you were going to hate it when I commented on your little post on your comments on your on your channel. But when I suggested it last week, the look on your face told me, well, shit, this is gonna suck. so, so that's what I took from it. But that's okay, because you're not supposed to like everything I like. And isn't that what the whole thing is about having a team? Is you get to
Yeah.
pick different things that interest you or you don't like. But that's just the way it is. But I loved it. I mean, I enjoyed watching it again. I thought it was really good. I mean, it wasn't the best. I mean, it's not the best movie in the world or anything like that. It was
I think a better feminist cowboy movie would be The Quick and the Dead with Sharon Stone and Gene Hackman.
I have
Another
that movie too.
another quality Gene Hackman movie.
That was another movie that I'm planning on maybe reviewing later on because I love Gene Hackman. Birdcage would be another one. Do you remember that one?
Yes. Grumpy Old Ninja says he really likes the movies that Shadow and Son talks about. We need another Ray Harryhausen. And the fellow who designed the Iron Man armor for Robert Downey Jr., Stan Winston.
Mm-hmm.
CGI is for cleanup. Absolutely.
Definitely, yes.
After I finished watching this movie today, I watched a really horrible horror movie called The Void. And it's probably like a 6 out of 10 as far as it's concerned, because I elevate it up from the 4 that it deserves, because they don't use CGI except to like obfuscate the wires for some of the practical effects.
Mm-hmm.
The entire movie is just a homage to Rob Bottin, who is a special effects guy behind the movie The Thing. Look forward to that next month in October. When we get around to October, we will be discussing
that's a good movie. I'm looking forward to that one for sure. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. Is The Thing by John Carpenter.
Rob Bottin is the main special effects guy that he was mentored by Stan Winston, and the entire time on set, Rob Bottin set up a cot.
Mm-hmm.
A cot. He set up a cot on set and stayed the whole shoot. Fed by catering, showering somewhere where they had water, or bathing, but never going outside. For 6 weeks, this special effects guy is putting in the work on The Thing. 24/7, he's accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets so fatigued, lost like 20 or 25 pounds, was in really bad shape. So they sent him to the hospital and flew in Stan Winston to come and help with the finishing of the final set of shots.
Mm-hmm.
And Rob Bottin had everything pretty much set up. All Stan Winston had to do was pretty much flip levers and hit pulleys, and that would be it. And that's all he did.
Yeah.
Which is why the last scene of the movie feels a little different, not much, but that's when Kurt Russell goes, and fuck you too, and throws a dynamite. Spoiler alert, the thing blows up.
Yeah. But see, that's what I was saying earlier about getting a team together that really love the script and want to see it come to life. And, every little detail or nook and cranny that they can fill in, to add more to their vision. That's what makes it good. Just like what with Galaxy Quest, just like those little aliens coming in and having the little snapper going up into Sigourney Weaver's face to get a reaction from her. That was, I'm sure she was not expecting that tool to be in her face flapping. But the thing is that that's the kind of stuff that makes something special, is because someone loves the movie enough to try to do everything they can to make sure it turns out the work of art that they see in their mind when they read it.
And this movie we're going to be watching next week, I think I'm hoping you like it. You might like it. It is not an exciting romp like
I love fantasy. I
I,
love Legends with Tom Cruise and Tim Curry,
mhm.
and then Labyrinth. I love that. I mean, there's a lot of older movies that I thought were pretty good. I loved what was that one? Go, Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon.
Yeah, I love that movie. So I'm just saying, I think I'm well rounded when it comes to different things. I mean, I might like corny movies that other people don't like, but I think that I would go to the movies pretty much to see almost any movie, just to see it because I love movies.
This isn't a happy movie like Dragonheart from 1996. This is more of a downer film, and it's set in kind of like the middle to dark ages. And there's a few things that are said in the script coming up that they even infer that they're starting the dawn of a new age. And the movie does a lot of things right. It does it made it to where whenever you're looking at setting up a fantasy world today, either for mediums of series or movie or video game, when people are saying, I need a gritty environment that reflects the poor sanitary nature that people lived in, this is Dragonheart is the first movie that a lot of people will talk about because it is excessively gritty. Or not Dragonheart, but Dragon Slayer is one of the first movies. Dragonheart with Dennis Quaid and Dana Meyer, I think. Dinah Meyer. That is a very clean, very pretty movie that has a lot of shots that really don't reflect well the. I mean, it's a fantasy film. Nobody really gets dirty in that movie.
Yeah.
Dragon Slayer is completely different. You can see the actors getting grime on them just by being on the sets, which are properly prepared. The props department did their work well. They have a lot of good pyrotechnics in this movie because the dragon belches fire, and there's also a few scenes where there's people working the forges, and it looks very believable. You're gonna want to shower after you watch it, but it ends on a high spirited note. It just is not a movie that you're going to be like, get the kids around. We're going to watch a happy movie. Not it. Dragon Slayer is recommended.
You would have a lot of soot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You would have soot everywhere if you're doing it near a forge. And especially if you had a dragon that was like roasting all its meals when it, in the cavern or wherever it is he lives. So yeah, that would be realistic to me, something like that with soot, everybody getting soot on them or whatever. Just like in the books for Game of Thrones, every time she'd be on the dragons or whatever, and she'd ride them, and she would get burned or whatever. Her hair would get burned off. Her hair didn't survive the fires and stuff. She would have to regrow her hair. So they didn't put that into the movie, I guess, or the TV show, because it'd be too hard to have her be bald and then have hair and then not have hair, through all the things that she went through. But that was one of the details there's so many details in a book that when you read it, your movie is going to be different than mine, because each of us are going to take different things away from it. So, it's really hard for anyone to take, especially a book, and try to make it into a movie. But any script, just getting a script to come to life and have more than, half of the crew believing in that point of view of whatever that it is the director sees and wants to see it come to life, like he did with The Thing. And he loved Kurt Russell, as you could tell.
Yes.
So, because he was a good actor, and he thinks that he loves his grit and his mannerisms. He just likes his overall acting skills. So and a good director is going to pick people that he not just that he's best buddies with, but because he thinks that the person's a great actor and is going to make my movies phenomenal. That's how they should pick them, but it's sad that they don't.
They don't.
But
Well,
that if they did, we'd have better quality all over.
I believe we are at the end of tonight's episode, and there is like we said, we'll be watching Dragon Slayer next week for Monday at 19:30/17 or 7:30 for those of you without a DD214. My channel has started to get a little bit of traction. We started doing a little bit of a satirical series called the Confused Modernist, where I make fun of a lot of bad ideas in modern gaming culture. So I'll be doing some more work on that. Janet, you've got a TikTok channel. I just found it. It's Menopause.
Yep. Menopause.
Grumpy, if you could add that to the list of things to add onto our rotation of things for chat links, that would be great. I think the
you never seen my TikTok before?
I try to stay away from TikTok because of all the flags.
Well, I don't really watch TikTok. I just post on TikTok basically.
I went on TikTok during this stream and my computer went, ow! And I got my vast notification. We found a tracking cookie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn you Chinese bastards. And so I went and did some work on that.
I don't get it on my computer. I only do it on my phone.
Oh yeah, where your finances are done. That's good.
It's not that big deal. Because to me, remember I told you when I first started, that's where I started. Yep. And I did it because people were, I was sending to people and they were like, it's really funny. Like that one about the hydration, that's 18 and older only. They wanted me to put that on there. And I'm like, I'm not putting it on there. There's kids on TikTok. I ain't doing that.
Grumpy
I do have a little bit of quality, standards. But yeah, there's stuff on TikTok that I don't put on YouTube because I'd get copyright strikes because there's tons of music and, duets. I've done a bunch of duets on there and I which is fun, which I really like. And I'm working on right now that hopefully I won't get too many people that hate me because of it, but we will see. I think I told you about it, the one with the devil.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but I still want to do it really bad. I'm chomping at the bit.
Do you want to do a themed month for September?
Yeah. Or you mean for the month of September?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
All 4 movies we review are fantasy based.
Yeah, we can because I think that's good. I mean, give something to look forward to. If we're going to do all Christmas movies, in the month of December, there's tons of them.
Yeah, there are.
You said Die Hard's the best.
Die Hard's a Christmas movie ever. Die Hard 2's a Christmas movie too.
But I think it's cool. I think it adds, like I said with October, that's my favorite. Halloween is my favorite holiday every year. And people, ever since I was young, really young, as a little kid, I've loved Halloween. And I love vampires. I love ghosts. I love goblins. I love anything to do with any of that stuff. Fantasy. It's costumes, and being a grown-up in Halloween is great because you can actually wear whatever you want and people aren't going to look at you like they need to call the cops because you were in a costume. So I don't know. I just love it. That's why the theme is awesome.
The only problem that I actually have with Halloween, it's not really a problem per se. But like most women want to wear something, then they will get into Halloween. There's a whole majority of things I see at the Halloween stores that pop up is like the slutty whatever, the slutty nurse, the slutty witch, the slutty bandmate, the slutty this, the slutty that. It's like, God, we have low expectations, don't we? But whatever.
Yeah, I usually make my own costumes. I mean, one year I went as a pixie on a toadstool. And I put my hair in pigtails, and then I made some legs out of a pair of pantyhose, and I tied them around my waist, and I had little curly shoes on them made out of felt. and then I made a skirt out of felt. It looked like leaves, okay. And then I made the top of a mushroom, and it went around my waist, so it looked like I was sitting on a mushroom, and I was walking around, and I had the two little legs hanging over the side, and then I had a little. I was just a pixie on a toadstool, and like tons of people wanting to take their picture with me and stuff. But I went as uh, I've made costume for as Trinity. I've gone, I mean, tons. I just came a clown with a ginormous cowboy hat that was huge because I found the hat and I said, well, I got to come up with something to go with it, like a rodeo clown. I'm always in my. I'm not always into the, you got to be sexy or whatever. I'm into just whatever is fun. Um, 1 year I went as Eve, and I took long johns and dyed them skin tone, and then I made some little leaves and stuff and put them in the right spots, and I carried an apple around with me. So you never know. I went as the 1 year I went as for a sexy costume. I made a Swiss Miss kind of girl, and I had the little bag, and I passed out like Swiss Miss Cocoa or whatever. Had the little things, and I was like, my name is Helga, and I'm from Sweden. That kind of stupid shit. But it was
Everybody
fun.
loves that.
So I just love it. I just think it's a blast. And you have to use your imagination to come up with something. And then I like to sew. I use a sewing machine and hot glue gun or whatever, and crafty, and like to make stuff. So it's fun. Can't help
Thank you.
it.
Thank you for being here with us, everybody in chat, for staying with us to the end here. I know we didn't agree with our movie review, which is that's how we knew this was going to start. So,
Mhm.
I hope everybody has a great week, and we will see you again next Monday night at the same time,
Mhm.
same channel. If you really like us, go ahead, like, share, and subscribe.
Mhm.
If we failed you, talk about it in my comment section, because I like to discuss things, and I don't even mind if you want to rip me open for having a negative opinion about this movie, and that's okay.
Or if you want to tell me how dumb I am because I liked this dumb movie, that's fine too.
It wasn't a dumb movie; it was just a poorly planned
Well,
movie.
it's a woman's movie, but that's all right. I don't care.
Hmm.
I'm a woman,
And
and
for
I
those of you
enjoyed
that
it.
aren't familiar with Janet from Another Planet, here is your link to her Discord. So you can go over there and frolic there. She's got a lot of good friends, a lot of friendly people there.
Mhm.
Thank you for being with us tonight, though.
But come visit me.